Mr. Paresh Vasani, Mr. Amrit Manwani, Mr. Pankaj Gulati, Mr. Sanjeev Keskar, Dr. Ashwani Agrawal. Good afternoon, Mr. Stanley Wong. Welcome to all the speakers and the panelists for this program, which is on the semiconductor, power electronic devices, and IC packaging sector. It is a new area that we have this time we are addressing jointly with III, which is the Institute for Information Industry, Taiwan, and ELCINA. We have been partners for a long time, and we are conducting these programs for the benefit of the Indian industry as well as, of course, the Taiwanese industry. And one of the main objectives is to make the Taiwanese industry aware of the opportunities in India and areas where they can expand and they can partner with Indian companies, because I think that is one thing that there is a lot of synergy between the two countries. And I think we need to go ahead with this because it is the only way to really expand our industry and the market jointly. I'm sure our Taiwanese friends also see this as a great opportunity. We have expert panelists today with us. Some of the very senior members and experts, and industry people from the ELCINA membership, and we welcome all of you, sir. Thank you for joining here. I would like to just open the program and hand over to Mr. Stanley Wong, the Deputy Director General from Institute for Information Industry. Stanley is a very close friend as well. I've been working with him for quite a few years now, I think more than 6 to 7 years together. And we have had some very good experiences of cooperating for mutual benefit of both our members and our countries. So Stanley, I would hand over to you with a very, very brief introduction. Mr. Stanley Wong is the Deputy Director General of III, and his main responsibility in III is planning and coordinating of technology collaboration between III and its global partners. III is a very large and very highly respected institute under the Ministry of Economic Affairs of Taiwan, and they work. They have a very large team of experts who work on research as well as industry issues. With those few words, Stanley, I would like to hand over to you for your opening remarks, please.
Hi, Raju. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can, sir.
Thank you, Raju, again. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my great pleasure to be part of today's webinar. On behalf of III, the Institute for Information Industry in Taiwan, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our partner, ELCINA, especially President Vasani, Secretary General Goya, and all the colleagues and good friends from ELCINA for their great effort in making today's event possible. And I also want to thank all the speakers from India and Taiwan for attending today's webinar. As you know, Taiwan is one of the leading countries in electronics and semiconductor industries. After 40 years of great effort and development, Taiwan has established its own unique position within the global supply chain. Our industry is, of course, open to cooperate and support friendly countries in developing their electronic sectors and eventually create a win-win scenario for both industries. India, on the other hand, has a huge domestic market and strong demands for electronic products, but currently still lack of a complete ecosystem. We can fully appreciate Indian government's determination in promoting the Make in India policy and all the investor-friendly incentives provided afterward. In 2021, the Indian government had announced more incentive policies on constructing India's semiconductor industry, with goal to establish the first Indian domestic semiconductor manufacturing companies within the next 5 years to fulfill the demands from India domestically. Today's event is titled Indian-Taiwan Electronics Meets on Semiconductor Power Electronic Devices and IC Packagings. And together with ELCINA, we have invited Taiwanese and Indian semiconductor and electronic related companies to come share their view and explore potential collaboration opportunities. From Taiwan, our semiconductor industry started in the 80s under proper planning from the government and strong efforts from the industries, step by step for decades. Taiwan is eventually established a complete industry value chains from wafer manufacturing, IC design, IC packaging testing, and become an important player and contributor to the global community. In the last 2 years, due to the US trade war and the COVID pandemics, suddenly the importance of Taiwan's semiconductor industry, especially TSMC, as the global leading chip manufacturer, are discussed and seen, and now every move of TSMC can directly affect the global economy development. Since the outbreak of the COVID pandemic in 2020s, many companies start an industry started digitalization process, and that directly increased the demand for electronic product globally and make all the electronic components, chipsets, IC in great shortages. The auto industry also experienced a strong increase of demand due to nowadays most of the car has installed components like ADAS and navigation system, infotainment system that all require support of electronic products, chipsets. So we can understand the semiconductor industry has become one of the major bottleneck of the global economies. And as the decentralization and localization of semiconductor supply chain has become the major topic for the global powers such as US, Japan, Europe, China, and India. We can see there are many more movement is going to come in the following years. So for today's event, we really look forward to discuss with our partners from India on how both industries can work together and move forward to establish a good, complete ecosystem in India with support from industry from both sides. And hopefully the shortage issue can be addressed through further collaboration in the months to come. So at the end, I would like to wish today's meeting a success. Companies from both sides are able to find their suitable partners for the future. Thank you for your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley, for those opening remarks and a brief on what is happening in Taiwan. Okay. Of course, we all know that Taiwan is a very important player in the semiconductor supply chain and also extremely valuable. And also extremely valuable for the global electronics industry. We in India are definitely very keen to work as closely as possible with the Taiwanese companies and try to expand the activity in India. With a little luck, I think we are seeing some green shoots now coming out, and Mr. Manwani is here with us, who's now setting up a fairly reasonable sized IC packaging unit, which is totally new development in this in this area. Of course, it is still a small project. If you look at the overall demand, there is space for a lot more projects like that. And there are, I think, two more projects which are happening in the space of IC packaging in India right now, which are, which have been undertaken. And I hope that in a year or two, they will come to fruition and they will start manufacturing. I will now hand over to Mr. Paresh Vasani, ELCINA president, for his remarks and his short presentation on what's happening in India. Mr. Vasani is an entrepreneur, and he's based out of Gujarat. And he's basically from the PCB sector. Mr. Vasani also has a unit in USA, and he serves a lot of hobbies and small innovation companies by making specialized PCBs for them. Mr. Vasani is also a mentor for the Center for Innovation and Incubation and Entrepreneurship at the IIM Ahmedabad, and he's a chartered member and on board of several governing councils of other associations and TIE Ahmedabad. Over to you, Mr. Paresh Vasani. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rajuji. Good morning, good afternoon, our friends in Taiwan, distinguished speakers, Mr. Manwani, Mr. Kesker, Dr. Ashwini, my good friend Pankajji, Stanley, and ladies and gentlemen in India and Taiwan. A warm welcome, and thank you for being part of this very important talk and webinar that ELCINA has brought in partnership with III Taiwan. Before I just run through a few slides, let me just give you a very relevant discussion that I had with my daughter. She is just going to go college this year in the USA, but last week we were having a cup of coffee and she asked me, "Dad, do you know anything about semiconductor?" I said, "Yes, I know about semiconductor." And she asked me, "Why are you not manufacturing semiconductor? That seems to be a shortage globally, and plants and products are not being manufactured because of the semiconductor. That seems to be a good opportunity." Now, an 18-year-old kid is also aware that there is a global shortage of semiconductor. That speaks a completely different ball game for this industry. And India is one of the largest consumers of semiconductors in the world, yet we do not have significant manufacturing base as well as an ecosystem, not only for the semiconductors, but most of the components till today. So this is a very right time for us to focus on this particular electronics manufacturing side and create a robust base in India, not only for the Indian customers, but also global. Why it is important? Because India wants to become a 5 trillion economy in next 5 years. And studies show that without electronics manufacturing, it will be very difficult for Indian economy to reach $5 trillion goal. The good news is that government has also recognized that this is a major aspect of IT industry, including electronics. We have done a fairly good job in software development. It is a common thing that anybody who wants to develop a software, the first name comes to their mind is India for software development. And I think in next decade, I'm hopeful, and the way things are, India will also become the top 2 or 3 countries for electronics and hardware manufacturing. Having said that, this is a good subject that ELCINA and our friends in Taiwan have brought up, and it's very important for us to focus. I'm very happy that we have very experienced, knowledgeable panelist speakers in this webinar, and it's going to be a very interesting project. As we have a few presentations going on, so I'm going to just go through a few slides just to make sure that we talk in general about ELCINA and what's happening. So, Yogesh. Next, please. ELCINA has been doing a lot of studies in last few years as we realize that we need some data. We need to have some strong information available for the industry outside India as well as for the government level. So we have been focusing on this aspect for a very long time. And to give you some of the ideas of your last 2 years, the total active component market, which we are the focus of this webinar, is close to $5.5 billion. And out of 5.5, the majority comes from integrated circuits, which is like $4.3 billion. Of course, this comprises of power electronics aspect also. The transistor is $500 million, diode is about $300 million, and LCD is about $400 million. I will not indulge into detail because I'm sure some of this information will be covered by our distinguished speakers. But this is the size of the industry that we are talking about. And it is growing almost on compound annual growth rate of about 18 to 20% year on year. Next, please. As we can see that our goal is to become $400 billion domestic market by year 25-26, which is not too far from current 1920 of $118 billion. So there is a huge opportunity, huge growth, and this demand is definitely very robust demand founded by strong fundamentals in Indian economy. The mobile phone market is also growing very rapidly. In recent years, we have witnessed a steady growth, not only for the PC, but also tablets. And pandemic has increased the demand of overall PC and tablets. There are some manufacturing activities going on. For example, at Sahasra, we have like a strong motherboard manufacturing facility over there. A couple of other companies in and around India are doing that thing. But largely it is made by imports. Next, please. Yogesh, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. So what we have done, I mean, all of us have been talking about numbers and numbers, but we thought that let's go through some of the developments that has happened in the recent few months, barring last 2-3 years. For example, like in November 2020, a delegation representative of several Taiwanese firm under the Taipei Electronic and Cultural agreed to visit and invest in YSR Electronics Manufacturing Cluster in Andhra Pradesh, which is a very significant step towards increasing manufacturing. One of the leading companies, HPL, has established an R&D center for smart meters. Again, this will going to fuel the complete innovation in India, which will have its own component base eventually. In December, the largest, one of the largest PC manufacturing company, Lenovo, announced its plan to start manufacturing tablets in India. In January 2021, Boat, a wearable and earphone manufacturer, has received an investment of $100 million from a leading private equity firm. In February this year, again, Amazon announced that it will commence manufacturing of electronics products from India in various verticals like network technology, which is and in the collaboration with Foxconn in Chennai. So there is a movement going on in electronics landscape recently, and these are the efforts of government policy as well as the demand which is being created in India. Next, please. Yogesh, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Um, as this webinar is jointly hosted by ELCINA and our friends in Taiwan, I would like to touch base upon the things that ELCINA is doing along with our Taiwan friends. ELCINA member delegations visit Taiwan since 1998. First MOU with TIMA in 1999, and that MOU is still continuing. I think I still need to finish few points, Yogesh. Thanks. Thank you. ELCINA also has a very strong partnership with TPCA, TCA, and TDUA. Since last 7 years, a regular annual ELCINA delegation has been visiting Titronix, Computex, and TPCA. Of course, last year or two, because of the pandemic, we could not visit our friends in Taiwan. ELCINA also organized India-Taiwan Electronics Meet from 2015 to 2019, and it is also going to continue this year. ELCINA has established India desk to support companies from both the countries, and we have created a special website to cater to the specific needs of Taiwan electronics companies. Special report on investment manual was prepared by ELCINA, which is available both in English as well as in Chinese language. We are thankful for the translation courtesy provided by TIMA for the same. ELCINA also signed an MOU with Institute of Information Industry, III, Government of Taiwan for mutual cooperation. And this webinar is one of the efforts that we are conducting jointly. Working regularly with Institute III on research and industry promotion. There is a close coordination going on between ELCINA and III. We also conduct regular B2B activities to promote and business between the two countries. ELCINA has also hosted and supported visiting Taiwanese delegations to India and facilitated their requirement to set up their manufacturing base or partners in India. Next, please. Yep, I think that should give a brief introduction about what ELCINA is doing with Taiwan. And we all look forward to a very interesting discussion that our speakers and moderator are going to come. So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pareshji. Thank you for those opening remarks and the brief about ELCINA and a little bit about the industry as well. We are, of course, extremely enthused by the fact that we have so many close relationships in Taiwan. We do hope that we could do more and more. Unfortunately, in the last year and a half, we have been kind of hindered because of the COVID and not being able to travel. But still, I think something is going on which is very, very encouraging for all of us. We will now move to the main panel discussion of this event, which is on IC packaging, ATMP as we call it in India, and power semiconductor devices. So this panel discussion will begin with Dr. Ashwani Agarwal, who will be the moderator for this session, Mr. Amrit Manwani and Mr. Pankaj Gulati. I will not give any detailed introductions because they are all there on the websites for on the event website, which is being used by all the participants right now. But I'll just briefly invite the three speakers. Dr. Ashwani Agarwal is an industry veteran, though still very young, but you are a veteran now, Dr. Ashwani, with 30 plus years of experience in the industry, including 18 years with Hewlett-Packard. And of course, with a very, very active role that you have played subsequently in MATE and in ISA, and with a lot of breakthrough market development initiatives that you have taken, which I think we are all learning from. Dr. Ashwani is currently the Director of Government Affairs at Applied Materials. He is a fellow of the Institute of Electronics and Telecom Engineers, MSc in Physics and Electronics with distinction from St. Stephen's College, and an MBA from FMS University. So those are the educational qualifications of Dr. Ashwani. May I also quickly, introduce Dr. Mr. Amrit Manwani, who's, a panelist here, and also past president of ELCINA. Sir, I won't say much for you, but you are a great mentor also for all of us, and you are the one who has taken this, step of taking India into the giant arena of semiconductors with a small step, but I'm sure that this step will be really great for us. So I won't say more on you, sir. I will also quickly welcome Mr. Pankaj Gulati. I think one of the most experienced, technocrats in the industry today. Pankaj ji, you have 40 plus years of experience of working in this sector, which is really remarkable in your contribution. I think you do deserve one of the Padma Awards, I'm sure, with so many years and so much work you've done for us. Mr. Gulati has worked in all segments of semiconductor manufacturing, including wafer fabrication, to assembly and testing. Mr. Gulati holds the MSc in physics from St. Stephen's. So you have something in common with Dr. Ashwani there. You're both from St. Stephen's, and MTech in electronics from IIT Delhi. So I'll just leave it here to the three of you, and over to Dr. Ashwani.
Thank you, Raju, for all the kind words. Respected Mr. Wang, it's been a pleasure interacting with Taiwan and you in particular over the last few years. Honorable President ELCINA, Mr. Paresh Vasani, my esteemed panelists, and dear industry colleagues. The topic of this particular panel is IC packaging, ATMP, and power semiconductor devices. And we will be actually sharing our vision and business opportunities here for India over the next few minutes. The course of the discussion will actually cover a quick view of the global trade and global trends in OSAT ATMP arena, and then step on to the India landscape and look at the India industry, the EMS, the Government of India enablers, and the industry initiatives to making this sector actualize. Without further ado, I would like to introduce and ask Mr. Manwani, our first panelist, to step on the plate and actually take us through his perspective, which is very critical because he's actually in the process of actualizing ATMP in memory packaging for India. So over to Mr. Manwani, and let us hear from you on this key topic. Unmute.
Thank you very much, Ashwini, for your kind words and kind introduction. First of all, I would like to thank both ELCINA as well as III for giving me this opportunity to speak to our audience today, a very knowledgeable audience, I'm sure. And I would like to share some of my understanding and the Indian scene in terms of demand, as well as what the way forward looks like. So let me share a short presentation to begin with. Let me see if I can share it from my... Okay, can you see my screen, please?
Yes, Manwani sir, it's clear.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about, as I said, about the semiconductor scenario in the country, which is, as we all are aware, that we have a long way to go. And let me begin with what is the packaging and technology trend worldwide for the IC packaging or semiconductor packaging industry. Clearly, packaging technology has come a very long way in the past 50 years. We have seen, very conventional lead frame substrates initially in the marketplace with very simple packages through wire bonding, etc. And over the years, There have been other technologies like ceramic substrates, organic substrates, and now we have embedded dyes, no substrates with 2D and 3D packaging technology trends emerging. So clearly, there has been a rapid technology growth in the packaging industry, and also in terms of the technology nodes, they have become smaller and smaller. Starting with several hundred nanometers, and now we are talking about 20 or 15 nanometers, going down to 5 and 3 nanometers. So the technology is growing rapidly; it's advancing rapidly. But in India, as we all are aware, that there's a very little packaging activity, or whatever little packaging activity on the R&D front is majorly done by SCL in Chandigarh, and also in the commercial space, CDIL, where Mr. Pankaj Gulati is leading the way, and a company down south called Spell. They are also into lead frame packaging. Where is the market trend globally and in India? Evidently, through this disruptive technology, the market is growing rapidly for semiconductors, and therefore semiconductor packaging. Motion sensors are coming into picture. There's a lot of imaging and audio technologies coming up, and there is a huge demand of data storage, and therefore that leads to a lot of memory devices and memory semiconductors that are penetrating in the entire market. And this is being majorly driven by three major market segments. That is artificial intelligence, the 5G technology in communication, IoTs, electric vehicles, etc., etc. So as we see standing here in 2020 or 2021, we see that there is a lot of activity that is taking place in data centers, and therefore memory storage, in voice processing, 5G, as I mentioned, and wearables and hearables. Those technologies are being talked about, and as we go forward in the next 5 to 10 years, we will see augmented intelligence, smelling artificial intelligence, and cognitive intelligence, etc. So there is a rapid growth in the technology and the market trend that is taking place in semiconductors, and therefore semiconductor packaging. Now, the India market, the EMS level activities are growing, particularly in mobile phones, IT hardware, set-top box manufacturing, etc. And this is leading to increased semiconductor demand. As Mr. Paresh Vasani briefly presented earlier, that the total demand in 2018-19 for semiconductors in India, combined with whatever is coming as bare semiconductors and what is coming as assembled PCBs, the total demand was about $8.5 billion. Today, the demand is in excess of $10 billion. And with that, in India, the growth rate is about 10 to 15% in terms of the semiconductor demand. Now, looking at the global IC packaging business worldwide, in 2018, the IC packaging business was about $65 billion in 2018. And considering that a CAGR of 5% is visible, so we are talking about $75 billion of packaging demand, global IC packaging business demand worldwide. Of course, the major development is taking place in advanced packaging, as against the conventional packaging is growing relatively slowly, like as I mentioned about wire bonding and lead frame packaging are growing slower. But in India, because there is virtually no existence of packaging, the demand will grow more in conventional or traditional packaging, which will grow probably at 10 to 15%. So we expect that in the next 2 to 3 years, if the ATMP or OSAT activity starts in India, we will soon see a total demand of about $1 billion in IC packaging. What is the role of the Indian government and the state governments in enabling growth of semiconductor packaging? The government has come out with a very positive schemes like the specs, which gives 25% capital subsidy in terms of the capital investment in plant and equipment made by the entrepreneurs in the country, whether the entrepreneurs or companies come from overseas or Indian entrepreneurs. As long as the company is registered in India, they get 25% capital subsidy. So if a company is investing $100 million, then they would get 25% capital subsidy after the fact. That means once you have invested $100 million, after you have achieved the threshold, you can draw upon this capital subsidy from the government. Similarly, there is a production-linked incentive scheme by Government of India, which is up to 6% of the sales revenue, depending on once you meet the sales target thresholds. And there are several state governments who have come forward with multiple incentives, which include state level GST exemption, loan subsidy, stamp duty waiver, electricity duty exemption, EPF or the Provident Fund or Security Fund support, and several other benefits which vary from state to state. Now, what is required in the country is, our president said earlier, and others have said, that we lack in infrastructure. So the government is working towards enhancing the infrastructure. But more importantly, the ecosystem for semiconductors is virtually non-existent, and all the stakeholders, whether they are material suppliers, the manufacturers and end users, have to work together to develop a robust and healthy ecosystem for semiconductor manufacturing. And what best way to start with, by way of semiconductor packaging, which is really a low-hanging fruit in the country. Now, some of the other things that we can do is have a common design house support. I will give an example of ITRI Taiwan, which was established precisely to develop design capabilities in the country of Taiwan. And look what it did. It was primarily responsible for setting up a fab setup in Taiwan, and that was hived off to forming the largest semiconductor fab in the world, called TSMC, and they are actually driving the entire semiconductor industry worldwide. Similarly, we require extensive R&D institutes dedicated to specific segments of semiconductors, whether it is in power semiconductors or memories, etc. And we also need to have flexible investment and loan policies by financial institutions and the banks in the country. What do we need from our global partners, particularly from Taiwan, who are clearly the leaders in packaging technology? We look forward to technology partnerships with Taiwanese companies. Our company, Sahasra, is already in talks with a few companies in this direction. We are talking of technology partnerships, joint venture in terms of financial investments. Basically, the Indian industry requires a hand-holding support with the help from Taiwanese industry. That will help us to grow together because as we have seen that there is a huge demand opportunity from the Indian market, and therefore if we work together, the Taiwanese industry and the Indian industries, if we work together and we can participate in the profitably by sharing the opportunities that are available in the Indian market, and it'll be a win-win situation both for India and Taiwanese entrepreneurs. That's all I have to say in terms of my brief presentation. Ashwini, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manwani. That's a lovely recap of the scenario in the Indian context. Clearly, the government's task is aimed at building up the infrastructure and the ecosystem. And we know of some of the initiatives they are doing to do that, to build the design and the R&D focus in the country. I think while all that is happening, the fact is there are already action happening on the ground. And I would really like to invite, our colleague Pankaj Gulati is the past president ELCINA and executive vice president at Continental Devices India Limited. They are already in action in one way in the country. And Pankaj, over to you to give us that overview.
Thank you, friend Ashwani. Firstly, I feel privileged to be a part of this session. I thank III, ELCINA to invite me. My sincere thanks to Raju ji for the very kind words he has. And it's a pleasure to meet Stanley. It's been a long time we met in person, but it's always a pleasure to catch up here. As addressed by the President, Mr. Vasani, and I think Amritji has touched very clearly, there is no shortage of demand. The demand is always there, and especially in India, it's a huge demand. So what I would like to discuss or present here is that the capabilities that the Indian companies do have, what needs to be done is to develop those capabilities further. As Manwani ji very rightly said, we need hand-holding to take into the technology and the growth. So I would just share a very short video of our plant, which has been in existence for over 50 plus years, to show the capability of the plant that we have here in India and give you an idea that how it's going to go. So I hope you can see my screen. Is it visible to you now, please?
Yes, we can see
Yes.
it.
Okay, sir.
Yes, we can.
I'll just start a short video and I'll keep updating you on this. This is our company, which is a 50-year-old company, and we are into discrete semiconductor manufacturing. So you'll be able to see that this is the main head office in New Delhi, which has been, the building is almost like more than 45 years old. We do our own wafer designs. So we currently do our designs and send these designs for a foundry outside. I'll tell you why foundry, but these are our engineers doing the design, simulating the designs. We also do development or on equipment. Some of our equipment is developed in-house because most of it is homebrew. There are hardly any major equipment suppliers 40 years back. Now, this is a glimpse of the wafer fab that we used to run in India from 1973 up to 2009. So this is the fab that was from 2-inch, went to 3-inch, and went to 4-inch. We ran this fab for almost more than 30 years. And in this fab, we used to do all the discrete products, which is discrete semiconductors, which means transistors, diodes, Zener diodes. It was a 4-inch fab when last running. Somewhere in 2008 and 9, we realized that we have to go to a 5-inch fab. And that's when we thought at that point of time, it was not worth making a huge investment because India was not very conducive in 8 and 9 on these semiconductors. So we went to a foundry. But now we come to the assembly side. We are still running this part, which is the ATMP side, which is the dicing saws, all disco saws. There are about 8 of them that we have in our plant. These are the die bonders and the wire bonders, what Manwani sir said, lead frame types, because these are discretes. So it's automatic equipment, fully automatic on the die bonding, and subsequently inline system wire bonding. And these are packages which are SOD23, the first time made in India in 1995. We were the first company to start this surface mount package in India. So this is something, the reason to show all this is that I would like to express again that India has the ability and capability to run the semiconductors. These are the marking equipments, test, mark, tape, fully automatic. All equipment is mostly imported. There's hardly any equipment manufacturer here. So along with the capability, these are the DI water plants, which is the facilities very necessary for the wafer fab and the assembly lines, recycling plants, which is important as environmental issues. These are our plants. We are running 3 plants today, one in New Delhi and 2 in Mohali, which is close to Chandigarh. This plant in Mohali is fully plastic packages, which means all the discretes of TO92, TO106, fully automatic. Currently, we also do subcontract work for an OEM company in Europe. So it's not that India is not able to manage this. You can see the wire bonding, aluminum, fully automatic, orthodyne wire bonders, which is the state of the art today. And this is in reality in our plant. So if anybody wants to come and visit, most welcome. We'll take you around the plant. These are the molding equipments that we run. Fine, it's not a multi-shot, multi-plunger molding, but that's what we are going in ahead. We have an expansion plan this year, and we will be going for multi-plunger equipments on the molds, which will be a fully automatic press on the multi-plungers. So after the press, it's the cutting, dicing. The area that I would like to again emphasize is that the capability exists in India. It's only the right technology and the growth. Now, the problem in India is that why would you say that CDL has been doing this for 50 years and we have not gone into many of the other new packages? Simple reason, although the EMS is growing, as what the president said, that EMS demand is growing, and yes, the demand of components will grow. The issue is that there is a large variety, but very low volume. Now, semiconductor equipment, as you can see, is very dedicated equipment. I cannot change this from one package to the other just like that. It needs to be ordered and planned and dedicated for a single package. So unless there is a reasonable volume of that package, it cannot make multiple packages in low volume, high variety. So India has an issue on very high variety, but low volumes. You can say that EMS is coming up. So that shows what we have been doing here. I would also like to show you some other area. These are the packages that we do. You can see this is our lines, what you saw, these are the packages. So coming back to the area, what I am trying to say is that the demand is there, but low variety, low volume, large variety. So what we need the Taiwanese companies as a partner to come into India, start working with us, and we manufacture not only for India, but we do it for the world. Because the technology, absorbing and manufacturing capability exists. It's only a question of now having an established base here to look at the market as an international market, not just so-called India, because India is still, it's very strategically placed between Europe and Far East. The demand from India is increasing. We are going through, as of now, what Pareshji rightly said, everybody talks of semiconductor. In fact, I've been getting messages on my WhatsApp from some of my relations. Hey, why are you guys troubling so much? Why are you not making more semiconductors? You're stopping all plants of automotive, because everybody is reading Toyota is stopping, Tesla has stopped. So these are the issues. The demand is there, but we in India need the right partner from Taiwan to bring in the right technology and then grow from here, not only for the India market, but for the world. So this is broadly what I would like to convey and say, that please look at India as a manufacturing base and believe in India. The only area that we do find is the ecosystem. There is no lead frame manufacturer, there is no mold manufacturer, but this will all move in moment the assembly lines start moving into India. Now, talking of the new technologies, you say, we have already started working with the European company on the LCC, which is the leadless chip. The design is already here. We have done some sampling, which is the LCC1, LCC2, SMD05. These are now ceramic packages, which is what Manwani Saab said. And we are already starting doing that in India for a company in Europe. And this is going to be for the space and defense. So India has the ability, the engineering strength is strong, capability is strong. Please look at India as the right partners for you in the long term. Thank you so much. Back to you, Ashwani-ji, please.
Thank you, Pankaj. So we've heard the industry speakers on...
Ashwani-ji, your mic, yeah, okay, sorry. Go
ahead. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So thanks, Mr. Manwani and Pankaj-ji, for your insights. The key messages I can draw from here are very simple. There is an obvious opportunity in India. There is, at the same time, a buildup of our electronics ecosystem, which the last few years has established. and it is resulting in the aspiration for going upstream on the electronics value chain. And ATMP OSATs are one of the next steps that the ecosystem is targeting. It is not standalone. There is work happening on the infrastructure, there's work happening on the design. It is a fact that we have our own successes in our space program, in our nuclear program, and some of those sectors have strategic needs which were fueled by India initiatives in the past. Now we can clearly see a commercial engagement evolving, building upon whatever was happening. And we really look forward to the global industry also coming in and working along with us to tap that larger opportunity. At this point of time, you are aware of what has been talked of by both Sahasa, Mr. Manwani, and CDR, Mr. Gulati. Apart from that, in our government ministries, we have applications from multiple players at this point of time for entering in this particular segment. We have one of the most revered group in corporate groups in India. Tatas have made an announcement that they want to get into this particular area. They have Rajamanikam, who was heading TISOL, who is now the CEO for the Tata Venture, which is going to spearhead that particular initiative. They have got Randir Thakur, who was ex-Applied Materials. He was heading our semiconductor business at Applied Materials, and then he went to Intel. He's on the board of Tata's for this particular initiative. So compared to the prior initiative, as you can see, there is a concerted, holistic approach building up on some of the successes in creating the ecosystem that is happening. Very fertile ground to let a visionary collaboration to evolve. On that note, I pass the baton back to Raju to take the discussion ahead.
Thank you, Ashwini. I think we've seen some very interesting material on the subject, and there is no doubt that this is a huge opportunity. We are going to hear now from Mr. Kuo Ting Liu, who's from Phison, the marketing director of Phison. I have heard a lot about Phison, especially from Mr. Manwani, and the iconic company that it is, I think, and one of the leaders in the memory devices space. So our congratulations to you, Mr. Liu, and to Phison for this great work that your chairman has done. I've heard him a few times on some forums. I think it was in Taiwan, and it was he's really a very, very dynamic person. So we look forward to your views. I believe you will be speaking to us on how Phison's NAND storage technology enables a IoT world and connects India value chain. Over to you, Mr. Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Raju. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity, letting us have the chances to share a little bit of our opinion from IC design point of view. So today we heard a lot of discussion regarding the IC design, IC manufacturing, packaging, assembling, etc. So now we will try to provide some insights from the IC design point of view. So my name is Kuo Ting. I'm from Phison, and today I would like to share some of the insights from a IC design company point of view. So before we get started, I would like to share some of the informations meaning for NAND flash storage. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about Phison, but we are actually a NAND flash controller IC design company and also provide NAND flash storage solutions. So I would like to share some of the information and the trends that what these emerging technologies means for NAND storage markets. So if you recall, back in year of 2015 and 2016, the application trend is all about smart homes. And 2016, 2017 is about AR and VR. And back in 2018, 2019, self-driving car has been talked and discussing all over the world. I mean, everyone was excited about the possibilities of self-driving car developments. And last year, AIoT has become a very hot topic, and everyone was talking about how to enable the IoT world by the AI technology. And this year is the 5G technology. So if you look at all these technologies and you break down all these technologies, you will realize that all these technologies, first of all, they all have sensors. And after sensors, the local data will be stored, collected. And that's where the edge computing and AI mechanism involved. And so this portion is for the local, or how we call IoT devices. And after all the IoT devices process the data, and the data will go up to the cloud. So that's where the cloud storage comes in. And that's where the cloud computing and AI mechanism again involve. So 5G technology connects the IoT devices and the cloud. So this is how we, as a storage company, NAND flash storage company, foresee the world. So if you look a little bit deeper, you will realize all these innovative technologies that we've been using in our daily lives. They all have sensors, computing process, connectivity capabilities, and to some extent, artificial intelligence. For example, your smartphones, your smartwatch, right? When you talk to your television, right, it responds to you. You talk to your phones, it responds to you. That's all AI intelligence involved. And all these, without the storage, technology cannot be achieved, cannot be complete. So this is the reason why we think storage is one of the key components in this innovative technology world that we are living in. Okay, so from this perspective, all these emergent applications, what's the impact on the NAND flash controller IC and storage design? So again, I want to emphasize that I'm trying to tell you that how the IC design is affecting, is changing in these emerging applications and emerging world. Back 20 years ago, all the IC design is simple. If you look at the slides, you know, all these equipment, all these machines, they are relatively simple. All right, the functions are simple and very direct, easy to use. However, today, you can see, you know, many smartphones, robots, smartwatches, AR/VR, tablets, smart speakers. The IC design is becoming more complex with many functions. So this is the trend in terms of the IC design, is that people are requiring the equipment, the machines, to be multifunctions, and it should be light, thin, short, small, and low power. And not to mention the development time is requiring short, right? People cannot tolerate a long development schedule, right? You know, for example, iPhone, all the smartphones, you know, from Samsung, from all the big guys, they're all changing, they're all launching the new model every year. So people are expecting the development schedule for all the products, you know, within a very short time. So not just from IC point of view, but also from manufacturing perspective, we all need to work together to make the product go to the market in a relatively short period of time. So this is the trend. So the controller IC point of view, the design flow has been changed. 20 years ago, engineers can start IC development with concept and demand can be created, right? They can just sit comfortably in the lab and then try to imagine how the people could use the system and they start to design the ICs. But today, that's not the case. Engineers need to know the application and system before IC development in order to meet the market demands. So the whole philosophy, the whole concept, the whole idea, the whole flow has been changed. So from an IC design company point of view, we need to rethink that the whole flow, design flow, is driven by application, is driven by system integrations, and not just from controller point of view. So how Phison support customers' growth and create values for the India. Okay, so I would like to share some of the introduction of Phison. Is that, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Phison, is that we are the largest independent NAND controller and storage solution provider. And currently, we started the company back in year of 2000, and we're starting from consumer application markets. And now we are going into gaming, enterprise, automotive, industrial, and embedded ODM markets. So the company has been diversifying ourselves from a consumer-oriented or consumer-driven company to an application and technology leadership-driven company. So this is the reason, and the reason why we change our strategy and business model is because we also see the trend. I mean, our engineer cannot sit comfortably in the lab and picture how people use the ICs, how people use the system. No, that's not the case. Our engineers has to go into the market and understand what the market needs, and of course, design from the marketing point of view, design from the market demand point of view. Okay, so from IC design point of view, this is how we picture the whole future. We not only provide the IC controller ICs, but also we provide the module business, the module products. So for example, you can see here on your left-hand side, this is the IC that we design, but at the same time, we are also providing NAND flash modules from USB pen drive, SD memory card, SSD, eMMC to UFS products. So these are the types of products that we are providing for the market. So we are capable of providing a broader solution for customers. And this is how we could bridge the IC design and the India manufacturing capabilities. Okay, so we are bringing the role, we are bringing the demand, we are bringing the market to India, so that we also need India's help in terms of the manufacturing. So from application point of view, enterprise, embedded, and consumer applications, we are designing the products based on the demands, right? We understand the demands, we try to talk to the customers, and we design the products based on the customer's requirements. So this is how we do, and this is how we design the product, and this is how we design the ICs, okay? So what we do is that not just design the IC itself, but also from IP design, NAND flash analysis, application understanding, firmware development, PCBA design, ODM solution integration, and supply chain management. And that's where the Indian value chain jumps in, right? We need the value coming from India, partners, EMS partners, local assembling partners, etc. So how we support and connect Indian value chain, you can see from this slide, is that we design the controller, but also design and integrate the NAND storage solutions by ODM. You know, Phison is not a finished product brand. We are a technology brand. We provide solution, we provide the technology, and we don't do finished product brands, okay? So that's the reason why we are able to provide the solution by a ODM business model, and also provide CKD, SKD, you know, the complete knockdown components, semi-knockdown components to our Indian local EMS partners, and let them know and let them do the assembling and packaging and fulfill the requirement for make in India, okay? And of course, through the local partners in India, by the EMS partners, they approach the India local brands and system integrators, and that's the whole supply chain. That's the whole value chain is built. Okay, so this is how Phison plays a critical role and build up this partnership and build up this value chains. And by leveraging partnership with the Indian local manufacturing partners. Okay, so this is pretty much my presentation. And we are hoping that we can build more partnership and relationship with the Indian local partners. And thank you for this opportunity, letting us have the chances to explain Phison's role, place in this Indian value chain ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lu, for that excellent presentation. But more than that, I think we are all very much aware of the great work that Phison is doing, and particularly the Indian market is being serviced by by Phison products. I would only urge you to look at India more closely and maybe do a little more of value addition in India and find maybe a suitable partner so that you can expand more. As we all know that now some of the larger groups are coming into this arena of electronics manufacturing in India. We already spoke about Tata, the group which is coming in this in this arena in a very big way. They have already started construction and establishment of a plant near Bangalore. I think it is in Hosur, which is a 5,000 crore rupee plant, which is almost I think 800 or 900 million US dollars for electronic mechanical components, very highly precision components. And now they are getting into semiconductors in a very big way. So I think with that happening, and even companies like Reliance are now looking at big investments in this area. So definitely this opportunity is going to grow manyfold. We cannot even maybe imagine it right now. But definitely, I think there is a big role for Phison and a big opportunity for Phison also to grow in this area. So thank you very much, Mr. Lu.
Thank you. Thank you
for your wonderful presentation. I will now go over to Mr. Sanjeev Keskar. Sanjeev, I'll be handing over to you with a brief introduction because the name of your firm, Arvind Consultancy, consultancy doesn't really ring a bell in most people's mind, but they need to know about your your illustrious background and your many years in the electronics industry, 35 years in the corporate world, out of which you have spent 29 years in the semiconductor industry. And Mr. Keskar has worked with big brands like Arrow Electronics. He has been chairman of ISA, which is the Indian Electronics and Semiconductor Association, in the year 2013-14. And Sanjeev has also worked in other iconic companies such as PMC Sierra, AMD Far East India, and also for National Semiconductors as a country manager as far back as 1996. So you've been at the top for a long time. I'm sure you have an aerial view of the whole industry. So with that, I'll hand over to you, Sanjeev, for your talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Which is on power electronics. Bye-bye. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Raju. Good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to thank ELCINA as well as II Taiwan for giving me this opportunity to be presenting on the power electronics opportunities in India. I have a small presentation for all of you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Sanjeev, we can, please.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to present today is firstly about electronics market in India. Then power is everywhere. Every electronic product requires power components, power supplies, and power controls. And I'm going to talk about that. And finally, I will touch base on the demand for power electronic devices in India market. So as Mr. Paresh Vasani has mentioned, our consumption story in India is really very strong. Means there are various reports by MIT and many other research agencies which talks about India market touching to $400 billion by 2025-26. But you know, the best part in as government started focusing on electronic sector and with Make in India initiative, government came up with lot of policies to support electronic sector. Like there is a program called Production Link Incentive, which gives 25% capital subsidy for investment in electronics manufacturing. At the same time, there is a program called Electronics Manufacturing Cluster, where they are going to set up a common facility center and greenfield clusters for electronics manufacturing. So we have started seeing impact of these policies of Make in India over last 5 to 6 years. In 2015, our domestic manufacturing was 40% and our imports were at around 60%. Whereas in 2019, it was 50-50. 50% finished goods were imported in India and 50% electronics demand was manufactured domestically in India. And we have a goal that by 2025, we really want to see 70% manufacturing happening out of India and 30% still we will depend on imports. But there is a big thrust and focus how we can really localize manufacturing, how we can across all sectors, we can start focusing on manufacturing out of India. Now, in all this process, the biggest challenge is about the value addition, because currently the local value addition is hardly 17%. So our goal is to even improve the value addition to 40 to 50%. And that will be possible if we can create even a component manufacturing ecosystem in India. So not only semiconductors, but even for passive components, for connectors, as well as for LEDs, displays, battery, bare PCB. So all these components will really help us to improve the local value addition in the country. So I think now we have achieved the manufacturing part, EMS part of it. Now the next focus we will have is on ATMP and all component manufacturing. And that's where we can really create a whole ecosystem in India for electronics as well as components. If we try to analyze how the market is broken up for electronics, then today the number one consumption is by mobile phones, smartphones, that contributes more than 30%. Then we have industrial electronics where we have smart energy meters, UPS inverters, that is around 18%. Then we have consumer electronics where TVs and all home appliances, that contributes around 17%. Automotive electronics contributes around 11%. And we have IT, desktop, laptops and servers, and data center markets are growing. So that is going to contribute for IT and automation products. And telecom infrastructure, we are going to witness with 5G coming in, telecom demand is also going to grow. So this is a typical breakup how the industry segments are divided for electronics in India region. Now, what are the growth drivers when we are going to talk about market going to grow from current 150 billion to $400 billion? There has to be some big growth drivers. So these are the segments which are going to bring that growth moving forward in India region. Last year we migrated from in automotive electronics, we migrated from BS4 to BS6 emission norms, and suddenly we saw that a small emission control device which was there, like capacitor discharge ignition unit on a two-wheeler, had changed to electronic fuel injection unit, and electronic content on two-wheeler suddenly went up from $4 to $5 to almost $20. Now we are also seeing infotainment, digital cluster, even going on two-wheelers. We are seeing Bluetooth enabled and TFT display clusters are coming up. Lighting is changing to LED lighting, and electric vehicle is the next big trend in India. Government has already announced a plan that by 2030, almost all our two-wheelers will be electric. So these are going to be growth drivers into automotive electronics. Coming to telecom and networking, We have seen 2G, 3G, and 4G revolution. Now we are going to witness 5G telecom network revolution. So there will be massive infrastructure investment happening for 5G infrastructure. National Optical Fiber Network Program on GPON is a very big program by Government of India to connect entire rural India by fiber connectivity with GPON technology. We also have private players like Reliance and Airtel. They are also going to invest heavily into GPON and fiber technology. Data centers is another big growth engine into networking and data space, and Wi-Fi networks. So these are going to be growth drivers in telecom. Coming to industrial, smart grid, smart energy meter, this is number one growth driver. Government has already announced a plan to have 200 million smart energy meters deployment over next 3 to 4 years. Solar pumps for agriculture, solar inverters, these are the other growth drivers. And then we are going to have 100 smart city project where IoT enabled smart control and smart appliances will be deployed for a variety of applications. Everything will be connected, everything will be smart, and that will also fuel a huge demand, right from sensors to processing to connectivity and finally to data centers. So these are going to be the primary growth drivers for the electronics growth. If we look at the top 20 products which are going to contribute to this growth, definitely mobile phones, TVs, notebooks, desktops, engine control units, servers and data centers, set-top box, uh, and then the GPON, ONT and OLT, all these going to contribute, means these 20 products are going to contribute almost 80% of the total demand which we are going to witness in electronics. Now let's talk about the power supplies and what are the opportunities into power supplies. So power is everywhere. Means if we talk about electric vehicle, we are going to have charging stations across India. So that is going to have huge power electronic into every charging station. Every mobile phone requires chargers. Means last year India consumed 180 million feature phone and 140 million smartphone. So total mobile phone demand was more than 300 million unit, and every mobile phone requires a charger. Every energy meter will require power supply, low dropout regulator. So your AC to DC converter charger solution as well as DC to DC converter for electric vehicles and other applications. Every every electronic product, be it a GPON, ONT or set-top box or mobile phone, every product will require power supply. So if we really take a deep dive on the component level, then there is going to be a huge demand for MOSFET, low dropout regulators, then all your passive components which goes into power supplies, your capacitors, resistors, all these products will have huge requirement into these power supplies. And if we look at just the EV space alone, then 20 million two-wheelers which are currently based on petrol, if they are going to migrate in next 10 years to electric vehicle, uh, then the entire the fuel and gas infrastructure what we have today is going to change to electric charging infrastructure. So overall, power electronics is definitely going to have a huge requirement in India. Means today in India market from Taiwan, I know Delta Electronics is playing a very big role in finished power supplies, whereas in components, Taiwan Semiconductor is supplying a lot of MOSFETs, diodes, and other rectifier products. So that demand is going to grow. Just to give you some numbers, if we are talking about $400 billion of electronic consumption, and if 70% is going to be manufactured in India, then close to $300 billion worth of manufacturing will happen for systems, electronic product. And typically the component content is 25%. So we are going to have $75 billion worth of component requirement in India market in next 5 to 8 years. And if that is going to be the total component requirement, I am very sure 20% is going to go into power electronics. So almost 15 to 20 billion dollar worth of electronic component will be required to cater to the power electronics and power supplies to support to all these massive electronic product manufacturing in India. So it's a very large opportunity, and definitely there is a good opportunity to collaborate between India and Taiwan in this high growth area of power electronics. So thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity again.
Thank you, Sanjeev. We have a good picture of the power electronics sector now. I do understand that we need to do a little more research on this, because I also understand, and I have no hesitation in saying this, that Taiwanese companies typically look for more detailed data and information. So ELCINA is already working in this area, and we are hopeful of coming out with a report on this particular sector, particularly on IC packaging, OSAT, and on power electronics. So I think that is something that we will share with our Taiwanese friends, and that will give them more reason to look at the Indian market carefully and have more collaborations with us. So thank you so much again, Sanjeev. Thank you very much for that presentation. We have now come to the end of this program. We are. It's very nice that I think we have also maintained our time, which is very nice. I think we normally overshoot, so I'm sure the Taiwanese friends will definitely appreciate that. Before we close, I would like to hand over for a minute to our president, Mr. Vasani. Before just to give your closing remarks, if you would like to say something, Pareshji. I know it's very late for you, but you are in the US right now, so it's a very odd time. But thank you so much, and maybe just a few remarks which you would like to share as a conclusion, please.
Sure, Rajuji, thank you. I think it was overall a very informative, very data-centric, insightful discussion. It covered many aspects of the value chain in semiconductor, right from ground up to the finished good things. I think we also were very impressed by looking at the presentation given by Pankajji of his company, and Manwani sir also has told about what's happening at the ground reality, and many congratulations again for starting a first step towards manufacturing in semiconductor supply chain. Sanjeev ji gave us a very comprehensive and interesting information about what's happening in India, what are the opportunities available, and how India is progressing together in different verticals all put together to achieve its dream of becoming a global manufacturing hub. Lots of opportunities are coming up, and in near future. Of course, our Taiwanese friends have also supported and given a very insight about the design aspect from the Phison, and we understood and learned a lot about this critical information in the electronics. I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone, including our moderator, Dr. Ashwini, the speakers, our Taiwanese friends, Stanley and Mr. Lu, and of course the secretariat at ELCINA and Rajuji for doing this wonderful job and sparing your valuable time. I also would like to thank everyone who is participating in this webinar, and we look forward to interacting with everyone in near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pareshji. I would also like to request Stanley, please, if you would like to have a message. I believe almost 80% of the participants here are from India. I'm sure you have a message for them and what they need to do to get closer to the Taiwanese companies and to be successful in Taiwan.
Thank you, Raju. I just have a few words that I want to share. I think we should think about how we can better link three things together. One is the market demands, especially Indian local market demands. And then we will have to be able to through the demand to identify the Indian specific products And then if we can, based on that product, we can design the product and then we can manufacture the products in India. If not, then people will just try to bring in their existing product and sell to the Indian market. And they have been established for a long time. So price-wise, everything, technology-wise, they have a competitive edge over the Indian companies. So since we have a huge domestic market, we should get everybody together to identify those products that are suitable for the Indian domestic market. And from there, we can have the components and the products designed and manufactured in India. And that way, then we have the starting point for all these beautiful things to come. If you think about the semiconductor manufacturing, for example, the waferless lab, who are the customers for TSMC? Not the Indian company, not even the mobile phone companies. It's the chipset company that their chipset are manufactured by TSMC. Those are the customers of TSMC's. So that's why TSMC's go to the US, go to Japan, and go to the Europe, because their customers are there. There's no Indian customer of TSMC. So why would they consider coming to India anytime soon? No. But if from India we design the product that will be sold in big volume in India, then those design house will be TSMC's customers. Then they have to respond to their Indian customers. So that's just one example, and there are so many things. I think we are already at the point that we really have the market and we have the ability to design and identify the Indian products by the Indian companies. And then people will join and then establish in India. So just a few words to share with you, and let's think about it and let's work together on that. We definitely have a very bright future in front of us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Stanley. I think that is a very important point, and maybe we should take this discussion further in the industrial summit, which you are planning in October. So I think we should possibly have this as a discussion point, and maybe by then we should also work on that a little bit. If there is no other comment from any of the other speakers, Mr. Manwani, Mr. Gulati, would you like to say something? Otherwise, we will, because we are well in time, so we still have a couple of minutes left to 1 o'clock as far as per Indian time.
Rajuji, I would like to add one quick point in reply to Mr. Stanley. Mr. Stanley, today most of the global semiconductor company have their chip design activity out of India. They have a very large captive design center. Also, our Indian design services companies are doing many semiconductor design and physical design projects. But yes, you are absolutely right. There are no companies who are actually Indian companies which are customers of TSMC today. But the talent availability in India is phenomenal when it comes to chip design activity. So Government of India is planning to now create a fabulous startup ecosystem in India. And I'm very sure once that program is rolled out, we will have customers for TSMC, even for the chip design, and those chips will get manufactured out of TSMC. So looking forward to that partnership in near future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But I would hope those IC design house will design product for Indian market. If they are designing product for the outside India market, then the customer is still not in India. Then it will come back to the same ground like now. Because so I think it's very important. If you look at any electronic products like a mobile phone, because it's not designed here in India, that's the problem we are facing. So the market are taken by the foreign brands. That has been the problem. So we have got to start from somewhere, and then if we are able to design it in India and then manufacture in India and sell in India. And then we have a complete value system in India.
Absolutely.
Then everybody through the value chain can benefit from this. This is very important.
Agree.
If we are just manufacturer for product that is going to sell outside, designed for sale outside, then the customer, the end customers are outside of India. And it's the same story like today.
Agree.
So that's just the point that I want to share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much as a final, goodbye here, and thank you so much for all the support and the participation, and thank you III and Stanley for and your team for all the help. Right, sir. Bye bye. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye.